Hello and welcome to the Electrical Times podcast. I'm James Cook, and today I'm joined by the Technical Operations Manager at the LIA, Dan Griffiths. Dan, how are you?
Very good, thanks. Can't complain. You?
Yeah, no, not too bad, thanks. Thank you for joining us today. I wanted to, start off by introducing yourself. If you could tell us a little bit about your background and kind of how you came to work at the LIA and what you do.
Yeah, no problem at all. So I've been in the lighting industry now, particularly that, not my background of how I started, but it's where I've ended, for 16 years. Originally, I've always been creative. I think that's always been a drive for me. Originally studying screenwriting and playwriting. So slightly different, but obviously a link to film. And then I just got fascinated by light. And luckily, in my hometown where I was from, there was multiple lighting companies, and I ended up working for one, and really kind of got into lighting design and product design. Lighting design first, so really designing the lights into spaces a lot more. And then off the back of that, really kind of got into product design a little bit because I knew the type of lights that I wanted to design into spaces, but I didn't have. So we then start looking at product design and optical design as well. But 16 years now in the lighting industry, 2 years at the LAA, where I sit on European, British standards, pretty much on application standards, looking at requirements for light, how we can make lighting better. I don't have to, I'm responsible within the team for the safety team as well, although they're much better at that than me. I just do the pretty stuff of where the lights go. And that's pretty much me.
So does your kind of creative background, does that sort of come into the role, and does that kind of I guess fit with that sort of more sort of regulatory side of things?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. I think I get a good blend of both. I've always had a technical interest to go with it. So I always like to understand how things work and understand things. And then the light and design's always been my creative side. It's like, oh, I think this could work. Could it work? And then the technical side to kind of build it. So the two kind of marry well. And then now within the industry, as well as leading our light design courses here at the LAA, I get to sit on those lighting application things to make sure that what gets either put into standards or advice given to wider industry kind of makes sense. Having spent 14 years at a lighting manufacturer too.
Brilliant. I also wanted to touch on obviously the LIA itself as well. I mean, for anybody kind of who's watching or listening who isn't fully aware, what exactly is the LIA and what does it do?
Yeah. So we're the Lighting Industry Association. So we're a membership organisation and not-for-profit trade association, specialising in looking after lighting manufacturers and importers and distributors mainly. So for us, we have roughly about 185 members, representing about 1.6 billion turnover in the UK, which I think, depending on what data you believe, the industry is rated about 2.4 billion, depending on what you want to use. But we're here pretty much, we have a team of people who help on compliance, safety, standards, and a big part of our role is advocacy. So really working with government bodies to make sure that any regulations or legislation that comes into play is feasible and isn't going to damage the industry that we try to protect and upkeep, really.
Excellent. And obviously we've seen obviously the 2026 updates to Part L for energy efficiency recently and Part B for fire safety. Obviously with your LIA hat on, for the electrical contractor on the ground, what is the single biggest change in how they should be selecting or installing luminaires today compared to say 2 years ago?
Yeah, it's a really good point. So Part L has been a big one. So we've been involved in that for almost 2 years now. And whenever you deal with Part L, you have to deal with each individual country. It's not just one. The biggest change in there is the efficacy increase. What we did manage to do at the LIA is get that reduced slightly, just to really kind of help our architectural members. So the lumens per watt efficacy figures for a whole building's gone to 105 lumens per watt. But we've managed to keep some lower levels in there for on the decorative side of lighting, for high CRI, high CCT. So very good color rendering, lower color temperatures, where there's a lot more evidence at the moment and data looking at red bandwidths and other things for health, um, and having tunable wire options that can still meet these requirements. So really for the contractor, it's just making sure that if he's doing a whole building or what's classed as any serious modification, should a building owner or occupier come to do an assessment, a BCR or a building safety regulator come to an assessment, they can just prove evidence on that. Part B is a bit of a funny one. There has been some updates. The challenge we've got at the moment, so we're having to actually work on some more information, and this is probably key for electrical contractors, is around TPA and TPB ratings. So that's about the flammability, the fire spread across a luminaire. So this is where when I say to people it takes over 4 years to make a standard, that's the minimum time. This might help explain that a little bit. The thing it references was created in 1977. The standard then was withdrawn in 1992, but is still referenced in the building regulations. So that's, well, if my maths is good, over 30 years out of date. But it was all based on single layer diffusers, which predominantly in fluorescent days, you only had one diffuser and it'd be very, very thick fluorescent. Whereas now so many products have multiple layers of diffusers, particularly. We're looking to update and change that test method to allow for that. We did some market surveillance, which we provided to the regulators, and I think 9 out of 10 products that are TPA to the current method wouldn't be TPA to a potential future method by the multi-layer testing. So it's worth for electrical contractors just to make sure they understand that. Is their supplier tested on a single layer or a multiple layer diffuser?
Right, okay. And obviously, with regulators increasingly focused on the performance gap, the difference between how a building is designed to perform and how it actually does. How does the LIA see lighting controls helping to close that gap?
Yeah, so this is probably one of the biggest areas of work at the moment, to be honest with you, that we're trying to push for. So within Part L for regulators, it mandates that you have to have controls. And in some areas, it will mandate you have to have daylight. The thing that we find the most is that it's never enforced enough at the moment. So you can have controls that are never commissioned, never recommissioned. So we're doing a lot of work at the moment. We have a research project we're working with another company just to kind of look at this in more detail and try to see if we can actually start assessing what the difference is by continually commissioning. So if I've done a lighting design for my building, I'm really happy, but from day one, my light level is going to be higher. I need to commission them down and I need to tweak them to make sure they're suitable for the spaces. The space adapts as people change, desk layouts, movement patterns. Keep updating that. That's probably where we've kind of advocated a lot to government recently of stop trying to drive efficacy as in LED. It's pretty much plateaued now. At one point we could get 10% year-on-year increases. We're less than 1% now increases. But the saving potential is in controls, because a well-designed system that's continuously commissioned and updated will provide the best savings. No better savings than lights off or dim down if they can be.
Okay, so I also wanted to ask you about, in fact, there's a lot of marketing around healthy lighting at the moment. And as a technical expert, kind of what are the three key metrics aside from color temperature? Obviously, you just mentioned about dimming, kind of that actually defines a healthy lighting scheme.
Oh, that's a great question. So I think that you're right. This is getting so much focus at the moment, so much attention. We're doing a lot here. Europe internationally, there's a lot of focus on this as well. For me, I would say, if I can't say color, intensity of light. So if we're talking melanopic EDI, so the amount of light that your eye actually needs, I would say the intensity of light, the spectrum of the light will be important. So how much blue we're getting at certain times, how much red, and my third would be time, of just making sure we're getting the right doses of light at the right time. That's the important thing. We know we don't want high dose blue spectrum light late at night. We know having high dose blue spectrum light is good in the morning to kind of get you going. Red, there's a lot of stuff at the moment with red and some of the benefits of red. studies in green. So spectrum is key, but getting that at the right time and the right intensity is the most important thing. And that's what's normally missed.
Yeah, I was wondering if you could elaborate a little bit on the kind of red lighting side, because as somebody who's a complete novice to the industry at the moment,
Yeah.
it's not sort of something I've come across necessarily kind of in the outside world.
No, sure. So there's a lot of studies going on at the moment. So traditionally, when we look at the complete spectrum of a light fitting, we've got different bands. And when you can get to near infrared, infrared, and some of the other stages of red, there's a lot of research on some of the benefits of red light. Some of it I have to be careful because some of it still needs a lot more data. So in my opinion, it's still in the infancy of its testing. There's a lot of people making bold claims, but there's things about cell regeneration, health improvements. You'll see a lot of places now having a lot more red light therapy to help recovery, but a lot of it for our daytime, as well as the benefits of red light, it's taking away certain peaks at certain times. So if we can have more warm, rich, deeper reds and some other colours in that, but lose some of the blues later on in the day when we don't want those spikes, that's what we're trying to balance out. And this is where there's a massive focus of research at the moment, of really trying to develop and understand this knowledge. There's a new standard being developed at the moment. So for lighting design, you have two mainly. You've got 12464-1, which is interior lighting, -2, which is exterior, and there's going to be a -3, which is on the non-visual effects of lighting. So it's actually really being explored. There's a lot of work in CIE, some other places, on how your body is actually affected by this. We actually have, I was on a call with UCL, University, who are doing some incredible studies on red light at the moment and what it can do to melatonin, lots of other things. So it's a real research area for the industry at the moment.
That's fascinating, and kind of not something I was fully aware of. So no, I'm interested to hear all about that. If we look into the future as well, kind of could well be more present. But I want to ask you about AI in lighting design, and are we at the point now where kind of an AI system can sort of design a compliant lighting layout faster than a human? And if so, what does that mean for the role of the traditional lighting designer going forward?
Yeah, AI is so I've been doing a lot of research personally on AI, particularly AI in light design. And I saw how quickly it's developed. I did my first talk on it in 2024, where I was trying to use AI just to model a building and never attend site. Now that's a lot more achievable. Where I think we see the biggest developments with AI a little bit more as it evolves, I think on the compliance side it struggles. On the layout it struggles, but the conceptualization side, it's better than it's ever been at the moment. So for a lot of designers, where you could spend hours and hours and hours either on Photoshop or Blender or other lighting softwares, building a model, designing a model, and then layering on the light so you could see the effects, you can kind of do that in minutes now. So you can really kind of churn through tons of idea generation within them, like a matter of hours. You could have 10 full concepts. It can't do the design yet, so light designers are safe. That's the good news. And I think it would always lack that human element, but the conceptualization side is getting very, very powerful at the moment. So I can see that developing in the future.
So it's almost kind of it's at a point where it's sort of serving as a tool, obviously, to speed up the work, but there's definitely kind of a need for kind of humans in that role.
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge, if I'm honest with you, is going to be over the next 5 years is that anyone's portfolio will have beautiful pictures of work they can create, but don't know how to create the work.
Right.
Similar to when Photoshop first came out, everyone could do amazing things on Photoshop, but they couldn't actually do it if you needed them to. And I think that's the big risk through training and through competency of people will be able to create things beyond their skill to design. So really kind of using it for explorative purposes, but accepting that you need to practice it and see if you can actually design it and how it actually looks in real life as well is going to be critical.
It's going to be interesting. I wonder if any skills will become lost over time, as AI continues to expand and kind of the younger generations, come up.
I would expect it to. It's even in lighting design now. So when I started in lighting design, the old light design certificate course was also mathematics, and then it was hand plotting drawings and very basic computer systems, to now where most people don't ever learn the maths because the computer does it for them. The software does it, and I think you might get to a similar point. I think building modeling could very quickly become extinct in the future because AI could do such a good job. Whether I think, yeah, it'll be really interesting how it would develop, because I think it can make mistakes and it can lack personality, but you can do some really good concepts. And I would say on some concepts now, you wouldn't know that it's AI. But I think that comes with its own headaches, that there's a lot more professionals in the industry now that might have 1-2 years experience in light design, but will use AI to generate text and images to make themselves sound like an expert. And that's the challenge for consumers, really, to really understand what is good and what is a good image.
So we're certainly in for an interesting sort of few years. I mean, well, okay, we feel like we're already in the midst of it with kind of some things, like you say, your first lecture, it was in 2024, 2 years ago, and the amount has come on since then is absolutely ridiculous.
It's crazy.
I mean, we've also, kind of similar sort of vein, but we've had smart lighting now for, more than a decade. I wanted to ask you, what's the difference between a smart light and today's kind of AI-driven lighting systems? I mean, so I guess there's quite a wide berth between those.
Yeah. So like smart lighting, kind of when it broke through and no one quite knew what to do with it, I think has been the challenge for so many years. It could potentially do everything, and no one quite knew. Probably similar to AI somewhat, to be honest with you. I think now where we are, so controls have refined. They've kind of got a lot more user focused. The biggest challenge that people had with pre-AI is you could get a mass amount of data, but you just never had the team to assess the data. So if you had a big building and you had a control system, but you kind of want to interrogate the data, whether that's for energy savings, whether that's for better efficiency, whether that's for even just your logistical mapping. If it's a warehouse, you could see how often certain lights are triggered in your warehouse to know how many aisles are in use. So if you could see that the furthest aisle away is in most use, you've probably not got an efficient warehouse. And everyone loved the idea of it and was sold on the idea of it on control systems, but never had the physical horsepower to kind of resource to kind of do that. Whereas I think that's where AI is coming in. I'm seeing a lot more now with systems where it could kind of automate that for you and give you your answers. So I would expect over the next couple of years, particularly, people will be using AI a lot more on the data side to actually give some really good analysis of your control system and where it could be improved.
Excellent. I mean, I sort of certainly hope it will, kind of help with efficiencies. And as I say, I mean, I think at the end of the day, we've all got to stay sort of optimistic as well. I mean, there's quite a bit of sort of doom and gloom reporting out there, but at the end of the day, it's use it as a tool to help, right?
Definitely.
I wanted to wrap things up as well by asking you about, kind of finally where, can viewers and listeners find out more about the LIA if they aren't already aware?
Yeah, sure. So we're very active on LinkedIn, so I'd always say start there because you'll always see what we're doing on there. We've got our website where you can see a lot more information. We also host monthly webinars, but we have 2 major events every year, which I'd always recommend to people. So we have our TechX event, which is July 2nd at Edgbaston this year. So that has 4 stages: standard stage, light design, connected lighting, and sustainability. The light design stage specifically is focused on health and well-being. So there's 6 talks just on that from leading experts around the world. And then our ISAL event is all about emergency lighting. So if you want to know the latest things with emergency lighting, installation standards, application, we have our ISAL event, this will be its 5th year running now, which is free for wider industry. So I'd recommend people go. But you can just get up to the later states where we're going. So we're always active, we're always busy, and we're always trying to do more for the industry.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. We'll include links in the episode description so anybody can look those up now. But Dan, thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you very much. Cheers. Thank you.